Hi, this is Jason Nickleby, Coordinator of Officials with the Minnesota State High School League, and this is Football Officiating Training Tape number 5. Doing a great job out there, really proud of all of you. This is a really tough year, whether it's schedule changes, losing a crew member, just a number of challenges that officials in Minnesota and across the country are doing a great job of being patient, being flexible, and being ready to take on whatever the challenge of the day might be. So keep up the great work. Proud of you. Stay healthy and safe. We need you. And we'll take a look at 8 plays in this tape. And again, not picking on any one crew or official or team, just using these plays to discuss mechanics, philosophy, positioning, and put ourselves in the position of the official on the clip, just to think about what we would do with these kinds of plays if we see them in our game. So with that, let's take a look at some plays. Okay, let's take a look at this play. We have a quarterback running an option play, pitches it backwards, subsequently goes out of bounds. So let's talk about this mechanically and how we would handle this. So line of scrimmage officials, remember, we're holding the line of scrimmage until a pass is imminent or until we have a running play that gets all the way into the side zone right in front of us, and then we can take a step or two backwards and then let the play go in front of us and we can officiate from behind. In this case, we don't quite make the side zone, so we should be holding the line of scrimmage. And you'll see here, this is the backside view, so coming from the line of scrimmage official on the other side of the field. And remember, by our mechanics, that primary for forward, backward, as far as pitches are concerned, is going to go to the offside wing. They have a really good look at this, as you saw in that replay. They can see that it's clearly backward, and we should be punching backwards if we have a backwards pass or lateral like this. So that initial primary coverage or ruling should come from the far side wing. Again, they have a really good look at this. You see that in the replay here. We should have a punch here. Doesn't mean that on the primary side that we don't have a punch from the wing when it's backwards, but we should have that. So we should have a punch. Then we let it play out properly, kill the clock when it goes out of bounds, and then we'll start the clock on the snap. But of course, the play clock is going. So that's how we should handle this mechanically. Line of scrimmage officials stay home until a pass is imminent or until a running play is in the side zone, and you can let it go in front of you and finish from behind. Either way, we should have a punch on this play, preferably from the offside wing, but if it comes from both, that's okay. We just want to avoid having dual signals, one with a punch backwards and one with a incomplete pass. We wouldn't want to have competing signals on a play like this. So that's why we say primary, offside wing. If they don't have anything, then for sure that primary side wing should have a punch back on a play like this. But we handle it correctly, allowing it to play out, killing the clock when it goes out of bounds, and then turning to face players. On this free kick, we have a really interesting situation that takes a lot of rules knowledge into account to get this play correct. So you see we have a free kick touched by R, subsequently ruled out of bounds, touched by R, so no free kick out of bounds. So let's discuss the various rules that are involved on this play. So first we need to know what makes a football out of bounds. What gives it out of bounds status? So we need to see Rule 229 for the out of bounds definition. And basically, a player must be touching out of bounds to be ruled out of bounds, and a loose ball must be touching out of bounds or touching anything that is out of bounds, including a player or game official, to be ruled out of bounds. So unlike other levels, if we leave from out of bounds, so this player were to jump from the white in the air, touch the ball, that would not be out of bounds because the player is not out of bounds when they're airborne like that, and they have not the ball has not touched anything out of bounds, so that would not put it out of bounds. So if you slow this down, you'll see that the return team player touches the ball with his foot just inside the sideline and then subsequently falls on the ball while his leg is touching the white restricted area, which makes this ball out of bounds at that particular point in time. So it is an out of bounds player touching a loose ball that makes it out of bounds. Had this R player been out of bounds and then touch the loose ball, then we would have a free kick out of bounds in that case. And that rule is found at 619. It says that a free kick shall not be kicked out of bounds between the goal lines untouched by R in bounds. If it's kicked out of bounds and R does not accept a penalty for kick catch interference on the same kick, R has the following choices: accept the 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and have K re-kick, accept a 5-yard penalty from the succeeding spot, put the ball in play at the inbound spot 25 yards beyond the previous spot, or D, decline the penalty and put the ball in play at the inbound spot. So that does not happen here because the ball is not out of bounds by rule at the time that it is touched by R. It is touched inbounds, then subsequently touched out of bounds by R, which makes this just a regular dead ball spot, and R will take it at that spot. So really interesting play, takes rules knowledge, judgment, mechanics to put it all together. And we need to move ourselves into position to make sure that we can see properly if R touches the ball in bounds prior to the ball subsequently being out of bounds, which would mean we don't have a free kick out of bounds foul. And we would need to know that if a return team player is touching out of bounds and touches a loose ball, that makes the ball out of bounds. And if they are not touching out of bounds, then a loose ball who subsequently touches that player or a game official who is not physically on the white, physically out of bounds, does not make that ball out of bounds. So really interesting situation, unusual in that they touch it so close to the sideline, yet not an out of bounds, a free kick out of bounds. This is simply just a ball that is touched by R in bounds, and then subsequently a loose ball touched out of bounds by R, which means R will put the ball in play at the inbound spot. So very unusual play, but it was handled correctly by the crew on the field. Very well done. Okay, another free kick here. You'll see it's pooched down the middle of the field, and the return team player falls on it about the 35-yard line. So let's talk about this from a clock management perspective. If this is at a time of the game where seconds truly count, we need to make sure we're on top of the clock, make sure that it properly starts or stops if it needs to be by rule. And again, on a play like this, let's make sure we put it on a big line. Don't put this at the 34 and a half. Let's put this on the 35-yard line in this particular case. But from a clock standpoint, starting and stopping the clock, rule 3-4, the clock should start when the free kick is touched, other than first touching by K. And first touching by K is rule 212. 1. During a free kick, it is first touching if the ball is touched in the field of play by any K player before it crosses R's free kick line and before it is touched there by any R player. So in this case, it's gone beyond 10 yards, and the clock's going to start when it's touched by R, except when the ball is down by rule at pretty much the same time as we have touching by R. So we have an official's timeout taken because the ball is down by rule. So in this particular case, the ball is possessed with the player's knee and stomach on the ground. Therefore, we should not have any clock come off of the game clock on this particular play. If it is a case where the return team player touches the kick gains possession, gets control, and then goes to the ground after that, we need to make sure that we have at least 1 second come off the game clock in that situation. So in this particular case, covered well mechanically, coverage, and rules-wise, because it was possessed while the return team player was down, by rule, we will not have any time come off the clock in this situation. But if it were touched and then gain possession and then go to the ground, then we would have at least 1 second come off. And as a crew, we're all responsible for taking a look at the clock and making sure that it is operated correctly as it is here. Nice job. Okay, on this play, let's take a look at the offense and how they come to the line of scrimmage, get set, motion, etc. So you see the 3 players at the bottom of the screen still moving, and then number 2 subsequently goes in motion back towards the top of the screen. So we have 2 players in motion at the time of the snap. They never got set for a second. And if you take a look at Rule 726, after a huddle or shift, all players of Team A shall come to an absolute stop and shall remain stationary simultaneously without movement of hands, feet, head, or body for at least 1 second before the snap. So, don't nitpick this. If it looks like they stop and then someone goes into motion, fine. In this case, clearly both of them moving at the snap. So this should be an illegal shift on the offense. The second thing I want you to take a look at, just to consider what you would do mechanically on this play and how you would rule on this and help, particularly referee and umpire, is take a look at the initial action. You see forward handing to number 2, which is fine, and then subsequently a pitch to the receiver coming back towards the bottom of the screen. And what would we do if that initial forward handing was more a forward pass, and then we have maybe a second pass by that receiver at the top of the screen who's now doing an end around? In that case, we would have an illegal forward pass. Rule 752C, a second and subsequent forward pass thrown during the down would be an illegal forward pass, 5-yard penalty, and loss of down. Now, that does not happen here. We have a forward handing and then a pitch backwards. So if this player at the top of the screen were to throw the ball, it would be the first forward pass of the down, so therefore it would be legal. But if we let go of the ball in our handing to number 2 and drop it, and it hits the ground, that would be an incomplete pass. So just something to keep in mind. If we push our arms out and drop it in front of us as quarterbacks to number 2 is coming to the top of the screen, that would be an incomplete pass. Also, something to consider, if we throw it in the air to number 2 and then he pitches it back and then number 11 throws it forward, that would be the second forward pass of the down. So just think about what you would do mechanically to cover this. Umpire, referee primary, of course, and just the discussion and how you would see this and what you would do if the quarterback put his hands out forward, dropped it. Make sure that as referees that we would be calling this as an incomplete pass. So just a few things to consider. It's an illegal shift. That definitely is a foul, and we have that, and that's great. But just something to consider as we cover this play. Make sure we know if it's a forward handing, backwards handing, doesn't matter. Make sure we know if it's a pass, a lateral, pitch kind of a play, and what we would do with those if the ball subsequently hits the ground, or we subsequently have another forward pass later in the down. That doesn't happen on this play, but it certainly can, and we've seen it before with this kind of play, and we just can't get caught off guard. So referees, umpires, be prepared for this kind of action, a reverse, double handoff, double forward pass, etc., and be prepared to rule on that. So legal shift properly called, and then mechanically, coverage-wise, rules knowledge, just make sure we're on top of the possible scenarios that could happen with a trick play like this one. Okay, another free kick here. Let's talk mechanics and coverage on kicks like this. So you see that the kick ends about the 12 or 13 yard line, a little trickery, and then they come upfield, long return. And you see the umpire will be on the screen here in the restricted area. And remember, umpires, we're asking you to come onto the field in like a J-type shape towards the hash, not quite that far, and you're going to officiate inside out. So picking up blocks on the inside of the field, working your way towards the sideline at the point of attack. You basically divide the field in half with the back judge. So that's where we'd like you to be. Forward progress will be handled by the line of scrimmage official. And we have a block in the back here. Good announcement.
Maybe checking. No.
So we had a good announcement by the referee, but I'm concerned about the delay. There really shouldn't have been that big of a delay. If we have a foul on a free kick return like this, let's just get it to the referee, announce it. It's going to be a spot foul in this case anyways. Announce the penalty, and let's move on with the game. There really shouldn't be this long delay. So make sure we get the information to the referee. Referees, find an open spot, make your announcement, and then let's get on with it. Now, mechanically, line of scrimmage, remember we are at the pylon to begin the kick, the free kick. That's our initial positioning. And we really shouldn't come off the pylon on a kick like this. It goes down to about the 10 yard line or 12 yard line. We should maintain our spot at the pylon and officiate forward. There's really no reason to come off the pylon like this. We don't need to be even with the runner. It's better to officiate forward than to officiate backwards. So let's stay back by the pylon and work our way up the field a lot slower on a play like this that develops slow like this. And let's officiate forward, because you'll see the block that takes place by number 36 here, right here in the middle of the screen. And that's a side block, and we call that as a block in the back foul. And I think the only reason that we put a flag down on that is because we are even up with the return man, and we don't want to be even. Let's stay back, officiate forward. I truly believe that if we were officiating forward on a play like this, we would have seen that contact. We would have seen the play start, develop, and finish, and see that the contact was on the side, and that this is not a block in the back foul that we want. He wasn't in chase mode. If we're in chase mode, then any contact in the back is going to be a block in the back foul. He's not in chase mode. He's even up on the same yard line as this player that's being blocked. Therefore, if we have contact in the side and the back, it's not a foul, and this is not one that we want called. And I truly, again, believe that the reason this was called is because we were even with the return man, which gave us a depth and a vision that really wasn't ideal for seeing this contact and seeing this play start, develop, and finish. So let's stay back, officiate forward, let the play develop in front of us. We really don't care about forward progress on a free kick return. Let's make sure we stay back, officiate forward, and get blocks. So mechanically, stay on the pylon longer and officiate forward, and then we can worry about forward progress at the end. And I think if we're not even up, I don't believe that we'd have a flag down on this. We want to make sure that they're in chase mode and that there's contact in the back for us to have a foul for block in the back. All right, let's use this play to take a look at catch, no catch, talk about the rules, mechanics, coverage, and philosophy, and how we can piece all of those things together to get plays like these correct. So first, let's talk mechanics. Line of scrimmage, let's slow down a little bit. I think we go a little bit too quick on this. We come down hard, and it seems like we're selling catch on this, and what we should be doing is we should be picking up the back judge, get eye contact with the back judge in case they're coming with other information, as he does here, and then we can both come up with incomplete or catch, whatever our decision is. I think we come down to the spot and we don't pick up the back judge until we've already established a forward progress spot, and then we come up with incomplete. So it's not as smooth and clean as we'd like. We ultimately, I believe, get the correct decision made, but just mechanically, let's just slow down a little bit. And good help, back judge, good job coming in to provide information on this play. So from a no catch rule perspective, like a lot of rules, we need to take a look at definitions. So let's take a look at the definition of a catch. And a catch is the act of establishing player possession of a live ball which is in flight and first contacting the ground inbounds while maintaining possession of the ball, or having the forward progress of the player in possession stopped while the opponent is carrying the player who is in possession and inbounds. So that's Rule 241. That's a mouthful. There's a lot going on there. So let's break it down a little bit further. So the second part, where they're talking about the forward progress of the player in possession stopped and they carry the player who has that possession in bounds, out of bounds, or to the ground later, we're going to give them that progress and give them a catch if they are grabbed and then carried either backwards or out of bounds. So that's what that part of the rule is talking about. The other part is what we're dealing with here when we're talking about control, possession, um, making some kind of a football move or act, and then finally surviving the ground and the process. So let's talk through all of that and how that applies for a play like this. The rule language for catch talks about the word possession of a live ball in flight, which we're really talking about control, so establishing control. And then the second piece is a body part down in bounds, so that we have that. If you're looking at this play, we have some control, we have a body part in bounds. But then when we're talking about act common to the game, such as turning up field, lunging, those kinds of things, having a chance to turn up field, and then surviving the ground after contact with the ground, those particular pieces are not mentioned in the rule book as it relates to catch no catch for rules support. However, from a philosophy standpoint, we should make sure that when we have catches, we should put all of those pieces together when we're ruling on whether a catch is good or incomplete. So we need to have firm control. Okay, so establish firm control. Two hands pinning it against your body would suffice. Not necessarily between your legs, but pinning it to your body, it would be possible. The second piece is having a body part in bounds. We talked about that, so we have that here. Third piece is, let's make sure that they have some kind of act common to the game. They turn up. They have a chance to turn up field. They lunge for the line to gain. Those kinds of things. They take 3 or 4 steps up field. Those kinds of items when we look for an act common to the game. And then surviving the ground, meaning they maintain firm control after contacting the ground and losing possession of the football, control of the football, is because of some kind of a second act, either by the receiver or the defensive player who's poking it out. So we need to put all those together. And even though there isn't rule support for act common to the game or for surviving the ground and surviving the process of the catch, we still want to use that as our philosophy of establishing catch no catch, because coaches, players, officials, nobody wants cheap fumbles, cheap catches. They want to make sure that they're legit. And if we use those factors in deciding catch no catch, we're going to be in good shape most of the time. So firm control, body part in bounds, some kind of act common to a football game, and then surviving the process of the catch should provide for a good catch. So in this play, let's take a look at the tight end. You see right off the snap, he initiates contact with the defender, maintains contact throughout, and then buries him in the back at the point of attack. And this is properly no called for a block in the back. So let's talk about our mechanics, our coverage, and philosophy as it relates to block in the back. So line of scrimmage, we would be picking up this tight end initially. and seeing that contact. And we need to see this play start, develop, and finish, because if we get to it late and we only see the part where he pushes them to the ground in the back, we would probably throw on this and we'd be incorrect. We would be guessing. So make sure we see the whole thing. Back judge might get to it late and they might have an opinion, but ultimately, line of scrimmage, this is going to be your block to officiate from beginning to end. And because we have a pitch play like this, our vision really shouldn't be on a running back. It should be on all of the lead blocks, because the running back is not a threat to be fouled, not a threat that we really need to concern ourselves with until there are players around him. So we need to get our vision to the blocks here and see the block by the tight end start, develop, and finish. So that's mechanics and coverage. From a philosophy standpoint, we've talked about this before, that we're looking for chase mode when we're talking about contact in the back, where they're clearly beat, they're chasing the person they're blocking, and they've lost contact with them. Okay? From a rules perspective, if they block them legally initially and then maintain contact and don't lose contact and subsequently block them into the back to the ground, that is a legal block. If we lose contact and then subsequently shove them in the back after that, we lost that contact, then that would be enough for a foul. So you see in this particular play that the tight end makes contact, never loses it, and then ultimately pushes the defender to the ground in the back. This is not something that we want called for block in the back, and is properly no called on this play. We're looking for chase mode. We're looking for separation. If we have either one of those things, then contact in the back is going to be enough for a foul if there's displacement at the point of attack. If we don't lose contact or we're not in chase mode, we're on the same yard line like we had in an earlier play, then that is not something, or that is not something we would want called. So nice job here by the line judge at the bottom of the screen, sticking with his key, sticking with his primary blocks, and properly no calling this for block in the back. I want to use this play as an excellent example of line of scrimmage mechanics. This is really well done, exactly what we want. So we have a rollout to the line judge's side, bottom of the screen. We maintain the line of scrimmage, good depth at the back of the restricted area, which allows us to have good vision, keep everything in perspective. And then when the pass is thrown, we turn stationary, view the catch, control through the process of the catch, and then come down and sell the catch. This is excellent. This is exactly what we want mechanically, coverage-wise, judgment. Just a really good example that we all should emulate. This is what we want. And see, he comes down in the restricted area, not on the field of play, turns and faces players out of bounds. This is perfectly done by the line of scrimmage official at the bottom of the screen, and this is what we want. So maintains the line of scrimmage, can help out with quarterback progress, etc., and then turn and view the catch, and then a nice sell coming down in the restricted area. Very well done. To finish the tape for this week, this is also excellent line of scrimmage mechanics, exactly what we want. So trailing the play, he sees that he's coming up even with the players and stops and allows them to continue downfield, officiating from behind, letting the play progress and develop in front of him. Then he turns and faces players out of bounds, lets the players clear, and then turns back towards the field of play. So again, an excellent example of line of scrimmage mechanics and coverage. Comes down in the restricted area. When he feels that he's going to be even up with the players, he stops and allows the players to continue in front of him. And we talked about that earlier on that kickoff return, that when we get even with players, that's when our perspective gets taken away as it relates to block in the back, blindside block, etc. So we want to make sure we're not even up with players. Sometimes over hustling puts us out of position. I love hustle. Hustle is outstanding and we want that. But sometimes when we overdo it, it puts us out of position. So in this case, he feels that he's going to be even up with the players, so he stops and allows the play to develop in front of him, which gives him proper perspective for blocks, officiates players out of bounds, excellent dead ball officiating, lets the players clear, and then turns towards the field of play. So excellent line of scrimmage mechanics, exactly what we want to see. Okay, that will do it for training tape 5. 9 good plays on here. Excellent examples of quality officiating, judgment, mechanics, and philosophy, and some plays to break down and dissect and think about what we would do if we had those in our games. And I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Mike Graff. Mike is one of our coordinators from Southeast Minnesota, and he is just an outstanding resource for officials, for coaches, and for me in the state of Minnesota. And he's provided just outstanding feedback and comments on the rules and breaking those down so that we can have a discussion about those on these training tapes and in the memos. So just outstanding work by Mike. He's a great asset to us, and we hope to have him assist with our officials program for a very long time. And also a shout out to Mike Spanier, our state coordinator, who reviews the tapes and the memos and provides feedback, and again is a great resource for our officials statewide, as is all of our coordinators. They do a great job of connecting with officials in their area and providing consistent feedback and dialogue regarding mechanics and philosophy and coverages. So just really proud of the staff that we have here and really appreciative of their work on behalf of officials, especially in a challenging year like this one. So have a great game either tomorrow or Friday night, Saturday, whenever it is. Stay healthy, stay safe. We're on the home stretch. Let's all hang in there. We can do it, and we will see you next week.